Hi everyone. It is a great day today. Good to have you here today. Hope you are enjoying your day so far. Depending on where you are joining us from, today I'll be sharing few stories about my career. And the reason why I'm doing this session all by myself today is because I've received a lot of questions while I'm doing career coaching. I've also received a lot of questions personally. I've also seen people sending me an inbox, a DM, asking one question or the other about career journey. I've seen that people sometimes, one minute I'm trying to Google live. Um, I've seen that also people over the years, they feel like I'm in this career. Am I doing the right thing, or do I just change career? Or do I move from one career to the other or from one job to the other? And I'll be pointing out some of these questions and I'll be giving a response to it. And also, I will share my career journey so far, the experience I've gathered in the last a decade, and I'll be able to say one or two things based on my experience. So let me put a disclaimer on this. Everything I'm going to be saying might work for some and might not work for others. And I'm not saying, quote and unquote, if it doesn't work for you, does not mean it doesn't work for others. And I'm also saying this to be able to point out the fact that our journeys in career in life are different. So the fact that it works for me does not mean that it's going to work for others because we are individual and we have different personalities, we have different upbringing, we have different career path, we have different aspirations, we have different dreams. So for me, it started with a passion. And by the way, I must say that passion does not pay bills, but we need to be able to ensure that whatever we do, we need to be able to ensure that there's something that comes in back, quote and unquote, like I said, income. And I'll be able to mention this, but I'm not going to give a definition to a career. When I say career, I'm just going to say it according to what has worked for me and according to my perspective. I'll say that when you say career, career can be a business or a job or a trade or a vocation that someone is doing and gives an income back to them. And I would say that for every career in life, your life depends on it. So you can't take that away. So there's something we call work-life balance. It's the same person that is doing in a career that is experiencing a life. So you can't take life out of career as an individual. And also, if you have a business you're running as an entrepreneur, you can't take life out of that. So that is your career that you are doing or managing currently for you to be able to ensure that you get something back to be able to enjoy your life. Okay, so these are some of the questions that I've received. Um, Somebody or people have asked me why is it that people don't stay longer on a job? They will move from one job to the other in 2, 3 years. That is one. And the other part of this question is, oh, it is good, or is it good to be able to stay on a job for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? I will respond to that, to both questions. So, other question that I've also received is, when do you know that it's the right time for you to leave your current job for another job? Some of these questions. And also, I've also received questions like, I'm stuck in this career. I think I'm not enjoying this career. It's not giving me what I desire. It's not giving me what I want. Is it okay for me to leave this current career and go into another job because of money? And let me say this, at the end of the day, it boils down to money, what you are earning, right? But you get to a stage in your career where money is not quote unquote money is not the first thing that crosses your mind when you are going into that career. I'll start um, bit by bit for me to be able to respond to these questions by sharing a story of my career journey. So I did my first internship with an organization. Well, I prefer to mention it, but I think I will not because I'll keep that to myself. So I did an internship there for 3 4 months, 4 months max, and I was placed or attached to administrative department. And each time I go to HR for one thing or the other, when I'm sent there, I, I am fascinated by the way the HR manager there used to work. And I'm like, okay, that I was curious and I asked questions. And by the way, I'll be pointing out a lot of things that we need to be able to do. I'm saying it again. It might work for you, it might not work for others, but try. So, but it's always good to ask questions in life. And I asked the HR a question, and I said, um, "Tell me more about HR, about human resources." And she started, and I was fascinated. I'm like, okay, maybe when I'm done with school, this is what I think I would love to do. And naturally, I'm an individual that loves to learn. I like learning, and it gives me joy when I'm able to learn something and I put it back in others. So I was fascinated. I think about 2 3 months in my I've spent in administration, and I told my manager, that, oh, I would love to do HR when I finish school, and that was my first year in school. So like, was like, oh, really? And the guy just took me to the HR and said, oh, he mentioned the name of the person and said, this is, let's say A. Say, A, this guy said he would like to be part of HR, he would like to do that when he's done with school. And that was it. And one of the critical things that I enjoy in that space is the fact that she was the one managing the human resources for some African countries, part of Europe, and South America. And that gave me an overview of what human resources best practice should be. Boom, that was it. So naturally, I love to learn. I love training and development. So I love to learn. And you, by reality, you will know that training and development or learning and development is part of HR. And that was where I was able to cut my niche and I started. That's for story. And I'm forever grateful for that HR manager. Um, she gave me that right path. She mentored me through the right things to be able to do the right things at the right time, the right and best practice, if I can say that. And after like 4 months, I went back to school. I continued my learning and development, read books, learn more, do this, do that. And here come another 1 year for me to be able to go for an internship. And at that stage, I don't know, quote unquote, what I really want to do. So I decided to pick up my resume or CV, the way we call it, sent it out to different people, reach out to people on LinkedIn, and few people responded. Let me also say that people sometimes will say, oh, when we send email, when we send inbox to people, they don't respond. I can tell you for free that people do respond. People do respond. They do. But the only thing is that if we don't try, there's nothing that will happen at the end of the day. You can't just say, oh, they will not respond. They do. Um, Try. And it's the number of people that respond to, quote unquote, that will determine the number of people that will respond. And I also did a physical, dropping my CV physically, went to the site, checked different organizations, drop it there. And I said to myself, I think I don't want to really go through the career in my study field of study that I really want to do HR. And I said, okay, and I started that. So I registered for a training for an entrepreneur training for 10 days with an organization, and I was there during the training. I think the second or the third day, I can't remember vividly. This is over a decade ago. And one of the facilitator was there, and I was just looking at this facilitator, and I'm like, okay, I think this is one of the things that I want to do. I really enjoy doing this. So, by the way, I'll pause on that. I will say that when it comes to career, you must really know what you want. Know what you want, so that when you are given what you don't want, you reject it. So, as usual, and I will also say that don't be too shy to initiate a conversation with people. Always try as much as possible to initiate conversation with people. It won't kill you. People will respond when you say, "Oh, hello, hi, how are you doing today?" People will respond to you, and you'll be able to get the required help that you think you are seeking. And I walk up to the facilitator during lunch, and I said, "Oh, like I would like to work with you. I really love training and development. I think since you are human capital development, that's what you do in your company. I would like to do that with you." So, "Oh, there's no vacancy," and I'm like, "Okay, never mind. I'm even trying to do my internship. It will be a good opportunity for me to do that." He said, "Oh, there's no vacancy currently." I said, "Okay, don't never mind. I will be able to work with you voluntarily." He said, okay, that's fine." And I said, "Okay, come for an interview." So they and I trust me. So typically from where I stay to that office is about 25 kilometers. And trust me, I really knew business, and I was there. I got there while we were having conversation. He said, "Oh," he was trying to talk to me about talent. And he said, "Oh, there's a book that I saw by John C. Maxwell, Talent is Never Enough." I was said, "I've read it." And that was our conversation. I never did proper interview. Quote unquote, that was my interview. And in the long run, I started working there. Um, and that is one thing I always say: if you don't make a move, there is no response you will get. And if you even get a response, it might not be a positive one. And let me also say, when you make a move and you don't get the right response, don't give up. Push again. Maybe I was lucky, maybe the time was on my side. At the end of the day, I got a job, started working then, and to make it easier for me, since I'm working voluntarily, I was given lunch and transport. So, and I think after like few months, it was converted to salary. So I was placed on salary as an internship, learning and getting paid. And that was where I developed capacity that I have currently and that I have put to use at different time in the middle of my career, where I was able to facilitate session with different organizations. I learned that from there, where I was able to understand and work with people, proper onboarding for new employee. I learned it from there while I was internship. And I was also given the opportunity to come back when I was back in school to be able to work with them, and I earned my salary. So fast forward to after post NYC, after when I finished school, I got a HR job proper, and that was my career. How my career started. So I will touch on that as I go on this. So back to the question. So I share this story for people to be able to understand that when you talk about career, um, it might not work the way it worked for A or for B or for C. Because why? Even if you have the same career, for instance, if you have both ABC into HR, human resources have different functions. Some can decide to be a specialist, some can decide to be a generalist. So as a generalist, you cover more functions or you do all the functions of HR. For instance, as a human resource consultant, you do more. Human resource business partner, you do more compared to being a compound bench specialist. Compound bench specialist specializes on anything around employee compensation and benefit. But for HRBP, you support virtually all the HR functions. So there are different ways. I think I will touch on this maybe in my next session with a senior colleague about choosing a career. That'll be my next session, maybe in the next month. So people have asked, when do you know the right time for you to be to move? Um, One thing I always say that there's always a career goal for every individual that I think we should have. So if you are going to leave a job, you must ask yourself why. Why do I have to leave this job? Am I leaving this job because I'm not growing anymore? Am I leaving this job because this environment is toxic? Am I leaving this job because there's no place I'm going to be promoted into? Or am I leaving this job because uh, I don't have anything to do or any new thing to learn anymore? I've been doing routine over and over. I just need to be able to move and learn new things, face new challenges. You need to be able to. So if you check, you should be able to ask yourself about 4 to 5 whys you are leaving. Or am I leaving this job for more pay? Another reality. You have to be able to ask yourself these questions why you are leaving a job. And don't just leave. And one thing that I've also realized is that sometimes you might not be planning on leaving a job or changing a job, but you want to be able to understand and improve in attending interviews. So you can decide to apply for a job, go for the interview, learn through the process, ask for feedback. That also can help you to be able to be sure that, oh, I think I still know what I'm doing. Because sometimes when you don't even have that particular experience in attending interview, it becomes a challenge when you have the opportunity to be able to now attend an interview. So you must be able to ask yourself the reason why you are leaving a job, about 5 whys. I've mentioned that. You need to be able to know why you are leaving that job. Because if you don't know why, the way you are trying to rush out, you might be surprised that where you rushed to might even not be encouraging, might not be conducive compared to where you are left. So you need to be able to understand why am I leaving this job, and why are leaving that job will help you to be able to decide industry you want to go into, or it's possible you want to leave your current environment based on the fact that you want to change industry or sector. That also can be a reason. That makes it 6 why you are leaving your current job. So the other question is also, um, is it right or wrong to be able to stay on a job for a very long time or leave within a short time? Okay, I know these questions I've responded to this question with individual while I'm coaching or a group of people, but I'm going to be saying this. Um, you do what I think works for you. Because as an individual, I said it earlier that our career goals are different. So some people might have a career goal to stay in an organization between 5 to 10 years. That is their career goal. So are you going to say that even if the environment is not conducive, you still decided to stay that long between 5 to 10 years when you just got a job newly, less than 1 month? So what works for you might not work for others. I think I will say that more during the course of this session. And some people have a career goal to stay between 1 to 3 years in an organization. Some people have a career goal to stay between 3 to 5 years or 4 to 5, 6 years in an organization for them to be able to move. And I've also seen what might make people, based on the experience, that make people leave an organization very fast sometimes might be the environment. If the environment is not supportive, toxic, not conducive, people want to change. They rush in and they are going to rush out. And I will say that people have argued, and one of the things that I don't do is to argue in that with this school of thought that staying in an organization for a longer time helps you to be able to understand the depth of your role, your responsibility, that's your career. Fine. That is what I am. People, some the school of thought have said. I agree with that. Another school of thought also said when you stay in a career between 2 years, 3 years, you move, you change jobs. One, it helps you to be able to grow. So it's possible you are working, for instance, as a financial analyst, and when you move after the third year, it's possible you will become lead. It's possible you become a senior financial analyst. It's possible you become a financial accountant. And why I said that is because this other school of thought said when you move within 2 to 3 years, you grow. And I agree also with them because you learn. You'll be able to learn better ways of doing things. You learn different job set of skills. I'll give an example. HR advisor um, job description is different from HR consultant. It's different from HR manager. It's different from HR operations and project. It's different from HR assistant or HR admin. So when you start as an entry level, let's say you start from an HR associate, you are moving from HR associate to HR consultant. From there, you move to HR manager. From there, you move to HR director. So you lead from there, you move to HR director. There's probability for you to be able to move very fast when you change that job within the shortest time. And I'm not saying 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, will be that school of thought because you grow in career and in terms of income, quote and unquote, it will be a progression compared to other people that said you need to stay there for 10 years, 15 years. I agree. And I've also seen over the years that experience counts, it works. And also, get it, wealth of experience sometimes is different from years of experience. I'll say that again. Wealth of experience that you have is totally different from years of experience. So you need to be able to know what works for you. You need to be able to check with you that yourself that oh, this is my aspiration, these are my goals. I need to be able to move within 2 to 3 years. I need to be able to move within 5 to 10 years. That will help you to be able to decipher if you need to move or not. You're not moving because people are moving. If you are moving because people are moving, there will be a challenge. And at that level, you might not be able to withstand that challenge. So because people move from one job to another based on their personal conviction and based on their personal goals, you can't join them. You need to be able to understand that about your career journey, to be able to see this is the reason why I'm moving. And if you're going to move, you move based on that. Okay, thank you. I'm going to be able to respond to another question that says, when do you know, right? I'll give an example of myself. I've worked in an environment where I felt my personal opinion that, oh, I needed to change this job. I need to be able to face more challenges. I need to be able to do new things and be in a new industry and be in a new environment, grow with people. And I resigned. I got another job. Sometimes we have what we call good problem where you have one or two different jobs to choose from. That's a good problem. And I got another job. I moved. And the irony is that I got there on Monday, and on Tuesday I resigned. So it's easier for me to say now. And I know some people have asked me, why did you resign? And I think my response to that question was their core values, their ways are not aligning with my aspiration and my core values. And that was my reason. So I know I've shared this in depth with people that ask me one on one, and I'm able to see And I didn't regret that decision. I did not, because I have learned as an individual never to regret the decision, because you have made that decision, you have to stand by it. So people ask me why, and I said, okay, this organization do one thing, one, two, three things, five things that is not aligning with my principle as a human resource professional. And I think one of the things that I said to myself is that it will not be ahead of me that I'm in this environment and this is happening. And I left. And let me also say that I did not resign because I have another job I'm going into, right? However, I think I have skills and competencies in learning and development that I put to use at that period of time. It took me about 2 years to be able to do that. So people might say, "Oh, that was easy for you to do." No, it wasn't. It wasn't an easy thing to do. It was one of the toughest decisions I ever made. Is either I stay there and become part of the system, or I leave to be able for my sanity. And I did, but it wasn't that easy, but it was a challenging time for me, but I was able to scale through. So I was able to be able to put to use my skills and competencies in learning and development, where I had to facilitate session for different organizations based on recommendation, where I have to do HR consultancy as an external consultant for an organization, also based on recommendation. And that will make me to say this. So, in the journey of career as an individual, one thing that I always tell people never to play with is people around you, people that you work with, people that you associate with, people that you can easily call a coach or a mentor, people that you can easily ask for advice, a career advice, people that you can easily ask for career clarity, people that you can quote and unquote be of service to. Because when the chips are down, if you have a conversation with them, oh, I have these skills and competencies, they can recommend you for one project or the other. And I knew that I have these skills, and different people recommended me at different stages within that period. I was able to get a job done. I was able to work and earn an income, even when I'm not working for any organization directly. I work as a consultant or external associate facilitator for different organizations and representing them with the organization they got a contract or a project with. So you need to be able to develop capacity for you to be able to function in that space. And the irony of this is that if I'm not sure of what I'm doing, or I don't have career aspiration, or I don't have personal conviction, or I don't have personal uh, core values, I'm going to remain in the organization. And in my 2 days, I know what some of my colleagues then told me. I know, quote and unquote, what they are enduring because they are like stuck there. So, but one thing is when you know what you want, like I said, in terms of career and even in life, when people give you what you don't want, I've said it earlier, you'll be able to reject it and push for what you think is right and what you think is best for you to be able to enjoy your career. And I will say this, I mentioned people. I will also mention process or processes. So one thing that I've also seen that people need process and people make process. So you can't take one out of it. So in bracket, I'm putting strategy, right? But let me also say that I've seen a lot of people have strategy, but they never execute that strategy. And strategy without execution is a waste of time and waste of life. Because I have discovered that if you don't have strategy, it's good, fine. The great thing about strategy is to be able to execute it, take action on it, and see the end result about your strategy. It helps you. So people in your circle, people that you associate with, people that you work with, people that you can call a team, people that you can be accountable to will help you and become a leverage for you when you need them. And I'll say this, sometimes you need to be able to be of service to people, those people, learn from them, join them for a project, volunteer for them. It gives you that sense of belonging. You develop capacity. You be capable of doing so many things when you learn from other people. And I'm also going to mention this. I've seen people do this time and again, that when you are learning from people, most of the time, people sometimes focus on the weaknesses rather than focusing on the strength of that person. One thing I've learned from people that I associate with is that I see good in everybody that that I come in contact with. I see the good in them and I pick their good, and I don't judge them based on their weakness. I have weaknesses too, we as an individual, because we are learning daily to be able to become better. So instead of looking at their weaknesses, I leverage on their strength to be able to see the opportunities on and in what I can learn from them, rather than judging them based on their weaknesses. Because as an individual, if you are not careful, if you are too close to, let's say, a senior colleague, for instance, as a mentor, you might take them for granted because you are close to them, you have easy access to them, right? But when it comes to career, you need to be able to be open, enjoy the ride in a positive manner, not the negative side of those people. Because when you look at the positive side of things, it helps you to be able to develop capacity, and that gives you that leverage that others might not have. I've mentioned volunteer to be able to be of service to them. And I will also say that be intentional, be intentional about your career, because nobody will take that your career for you. You need to be able to enjoy and be intentional about your career, because if you are not intentional about your career, you will need a lot of things to be done to be able to get out of it. So be intentional about your career, and it will help you and give you that leverage to be able to grow and be able to become better. Um, Let me check also. And also, I think over the years, my um, aspiration, my core values changes over the years. Because why? I'm growing. Because why? I'm living. So there was a time my aspiration was pep. When I say pep, is um, purpose, responsibility, excellence, and passion. So at a time, over time, my career aspiration changes to action, which is attitude, consistency, tenacity, intentionality, openness, and necessity. So to cap it all, I always say that people should always try to set smarter goals when it comes to career. You need to be able to set smarter goals. When I say smarter goals, it starts with strategy. The next one is milestone. The next one is action, and the next one is resources. So resources can be either people or money. When you have the right people around you, you can easily get money. And the other one is team, people that you are accountable to. So the next one is E. So when you evaluate, E stands for evaluation, which is evaluate your strategy, your milestone, your action, your resources, your team. When it works, you repeat the process because why? It's working. And you need to be intentional about all this. Because for me, I usually say that people don't get to a destination if there's no a starting point. You need to have a starting point. So you know from the starting point, always have an end in mind about your career. And that helps you to be able to develop capacity and you are open. So in one moment, I need technical issue. In one moment, I'll be able to complete my career journey, like I said, where I'll be able to touch on different job position that I have done. Maybe in the last 1.5 decade of my career, I see that we have differences, and understanding and appreciating your differences helps you to become better in life. So if you don't know what you want, when you give you just take anything. And taking anything can be a challenge. You can't just take anything. You need to be intentional to be able to take something that you desire or that you really want. One moment, please. My battery is going down. Okay, so like I said, when I started my career, I I started my career as a human resource assistant. That's uh, I was able to learn the dashboard, learn different things in HR, develop different parameters, different metrics, different things needs to be done. I can say that I enjoyed that process. I really, really enjoyed that process because it helped me to become better. And along the line, I became an HR officer. From there, I moved to another position in another organization where I was HR officer for group and moved to HR manager. From there, I moved to regional training and HR manager. And at the time, I also moved again to become HR manager in that organization. And at the time, I moved also to become learning and talent manager in the same space of HR. And also, I also moved from learning and talent manager to human HRBP, human resource business partners. I did that for some time also. And over time, at the time, I was even juggling between HRBP and learning and talent manager, where I was acting in one of the positions. And at the end of the day, currently I work as a human resource consultant. So, but on the side, I still have the capacity to be able to do learning and development, which I do on the side with different organizations where I volunteer for. So you can't say that you do one thing. I know I've heard that do one thing, oh, be good at one thing. No, I disagree with that. My school of thought and the other school of thought that I have listened to says it's always good to know something about everything and everything about something. And that's one thing I can say that I enjoy in HR. I get to know more about different things, about different careers, about different subjects, and I get to develop and improve in that space. Because why? I have been able to move from one point to the other. Oh, by the way, I didn't even start. There was a time I was working as a personal assistant and training coordinator. Excuse me. And that in that space, I've learned different skills. And let me also say that sometimes your current skills or your current job, any improvement you are putting yourself into, anything that you are doing to improve in your skills in your current job, sometimes might not even be for your current job, might be for your next job. So I've seen this happen time and again where people are promoted to be a manager with zero leadership skills. And one of the critical things I have seen as a manager is for you to be able to lead people and manage them. Because the evidence of your skills and competence as a manager is a reflection of the level at which you are leading people that report to you. So as an individual, there's nothing that stops you when you are in a current job, even if you are not leading anybody to decide to learn something on LinkedIn or any online courses or physical courses to be able to see um, managing people, managing teams, or leading a team. Learn. Because one thing I see is that sometimes we need to be able to be intentional about learning and improving in our career. I've seen people recommended me for jobs, not because I'm the best. I always say that I don't even want to be the best. I don't want to, but I'm trying as much as possible to do the finest and the best thing that I can ever do to be able to improve in my career. So definitely, when you try as much as possible to do the great things and improve yourself, people then will see that in you, and then recommendation comes. And I've also seen that when people are recommending you, you will not be there. That is why when you're in your journey of career, be good to people for no reason. Learn to appreciate people, learn to be good to them, learn to help and support them. So if you're a manager, help others. If you are your colleague needs help. So I think there was a time in my career that when people ask me, "Oh, Ayana, can you do help me with this?" Most of the time, I hardly say no because if even if I don't know that particular thing, I try to learn and support them and help them. Because why? I've learned through the process. But the good thing is that you'll be able to develop capacity. So there's nothing that says you know how to, you have a particular skill that is lacking in your team. Do KSS. Not necessarily, it's not a sharing session with your team. It helps you. You are helping them, and at the same time, you are helping and building your capacity. So understand what you need to do, and that helps you. So that will take me to the next thing I'm going to be saying. It says, somebody also asked me, um, what do I find enjoyable in my career that makes me stay with the organization? And I said, in reality, I've worked with some good bosses and some good bosses. I work with some good leaders, right? It's different from boss. So managers are bosses, some are leaders because a leader will ask you and questions. I'll tell you, oh, what do you think? Not just, oh, do this. Some bosses micromanage. Even when you work with such people, you need to be intentional, have an open mind, develop capacity for you not because if you stay with that manager for a very long time, by default in your subconscious over time, you become that person. So you need to be able to ensure that you have an open mind that makes you stay behind without learning because it's an influence. It comes to you and you get to do it by default if you are not intentional. So one thing I've learned when I work with some good boss is to be able to behave the other way they have treated me. If they have treated me in a bad way, I decided to unlearn that and learn in better ways of doing that. And I think that has also helped me in my career because you cannot have a career without having to learn that anybody you work with or you report to, there's an influence, there's a direct influence on you, either good or bad. So you need to be able to understand that if you don't do that, over time, the same thing you are complaining of that, oh, my manager does this, he does that, over time, you'll be doing the same thing. You will. So you need to be able to come back, go back a bit, and then unlearn that part and relearn better ways of doing this. So somebody else have also asked me when it comes to decision of taking a job, what convinced me to be able to go for the organization? And I said, no matter the question you ask people, so try to ask about the organization you think you are going into. Make your inquiries, ensure that you check. And let me also say that sometimes you will check and check, but still you get in. you get a different feeling. Why? Because we are human. So some people might be lucky, if I can use the word, to say that, oh, they started their career for the first time after school with good people, good environment, fine. But the bottom line is, regardless of where you started your career, that should not define you. If it's a bad place to be, learn to be able to unlearn and try as much as possible to become better in the process, and decide to be intentional to be able to learn new ways of doing things. So that is why I mentioned association. Be in an association in your field. If you're an accountant, if you're a procurement, if you're a recruiter, if you're a human resource, if you're an administrator, if you're anywhere you find yourself in your career or any career that you are in, ensure you find an association that gives value, and find an individual that you are accountable to, that you think you want to be like, that you think that should mentor you or coach you in career. That will help you to be able to grow in your career. And sometimes, let me say that um, I've heard of a story where um, a team member got a job, and because of the conversation and the relationship they have with their line manager, they decided to open up and say, oh, I got a job. And the line manager said, oh, no, 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 you don't have to do that. Stay with me. Don't worry, you'll be fine. And that's one thing I say. People sometimes we trust people. It's good. But however, the line manager said, stay with me, reject the job. And the team member stayed. 3 months down the line, the line manager got another job and moved. Why? And I've also said it. It might sound so selfish, but when it comes to career as an individual, you are the one in charge. I always say, um, you need to be able to trust your gut enough to know when to move. I'm not going to say this is the right time for you to move. You need to be able to know, because when you know your career aspiration, that will define the level of competencies that you have developed over the years, and that will help you to be able to become better on the job. And that also helps you to be able to determine what you need to do part time. So you need to be able to know when to move. Sometimes it's good to consult. People will give you advices, but it's left to you to decide. It's your choice, because the advice can either make you or mar you. So you need to decide when to move and trust your gut to be able to do this. Um, I think I'm going to be stopping the next few minutes. And I would say the takeaway from this session today is to be able to understand, because I have seen that sometimes people want to tell you, oh, I have a good career, everything is fine, no challenge. I know that sometimes it's good to be vulnerable. When you share your story, you might be vulnerable. And the story that I have shared are my personal experience. And that was why I said, I'm not saying it's going to work for you. It might not, because we have differences, because we have different career aspirations. So if it doesn't work for you, unlearn and relearn a better way of doing this. But remember that for everything you do in life and for everything you do as an individual, most of the time, the level of the things that you have learned and improved on in your career gives you the end result for you to be able to become better, or you decide not to become better. This is based and boils down to your personal decision and personal conviction. So the level of discipline that you put into the improving in your career gives you the leverage to be able to work with people. And if you forget anything that I've said so far in the last 50 minutes, please don't forget leveraging on people and going through the process. People and process can easily enhance your career or stop you from moving on, improving on your career. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching, for everyone that joined, and for everyone that will watch the replay. Thank you so much for your time and do enjoy the rest of your weekend, depending on where you are watching from. And have a wonderful day. Bye. See you next time.